What if your blood knows more about you than your mind can comprehend? Have you ever wondered about the seemingly simple words, first, second, third, or fourth blood type? Perhaps this is not just a medical classification. Perhaps there is something more behind these numbers, deep psychological or even spiritual aspects of your personality. Carl Jung claimed that the unconscious speaks to us in symbols, subtle, ambiguous, often hidden in the most mundane manifestations of life. If so, could blood type be one of those symbols, a subtle but powerful sign of your archetypal nature? In this video, we will explore the possible connections between ancient biological codes and the timeless insights of Jungian psychology. Perhaps hidden in every drop of your blood is a map, a guide to a deeper understanding of yourself and your destiny. Your blood type is not just a dry label on a medical card, it may be a reflection of your inner structure, your psychological landscape, and even your spiritual destiny. Before we delve deeper into the subject, it is worth asking ourselves one important question: why blood? Why has it been endowed with such profound, almost mythical significance throughout the centuries and across different cultures? Blood is not just a biological substance, it is a story written into the very fabric of our existence, a story about who you are, where your essence comes from, and what really drives your actions beyond conscious decisions. Carl Jung, who devoted his life to studying the relationship between the visible and the hidden, probably saw blood as one of the most powerful symbols embodied in the body. Its continuous flow reflects deep psychological processes, the very currents that move in the depths of your unconscious. And it is here that an amazing bridge between ancient symbols and modern psychological knowledge opens up, a space where Eastern and Western philosophy converge at an unexpected but harmonious point of contact. Long before Carl Jung's ideas entered the mainstream of Western psychology, a different, no less intriguing view of blood was already taking shape in Japan. According to Ketsuekigata's theory, blood type affects not only a person's health, but also their character, behavior, inclinations, and possibly their destiny. At first glance, this may seem like part of cultural folklore, something from the realm of popular beliefs. However, when viewed through the Jungian prism, something much deeper begins to unfold in this seemingly simple idea. Here we are faced with a rare phenomenon. Two traditions, Eastern and Western, speak the same language of symbols, but from different points of view. Jung's archetypal system and Japanese blood type typology unexpectedly reflect each other like two mirrors facing each other. This is psychological resonance, recurring patterns that manifest themselves across space and time because they are embedded in the very structure of our inner nature. And when you begin to recognize these patterns, they cease to be mere symbols. They become doors, gateways to a deeper understanding of yourself. All of this brings us to the very heart of Jungian psychology, to the inner journey that Carl Jung called individuation. This is not just a concept, but a deeply personal, almost sacred journey toward wholeness. It is not about striving to become someone else, but rather about returning to one's true nature, about becoming fully oneself. It is a process of integrating the conscious self with the deep, often unexplored layers of the unconscious. It is a path on which we not only discover our dominant archetypal energies, but also come face to face with our own shadow, those aspects of our personality that we usually reject, but which are in fact an integral part of our wholeness. If we consider blood type not as a biological constant but as a symbolic trace, it can act as a kind of internal compass. Not in the sense of imposing a ready-made identity on you, but rather as a subtle indication of the direction in which your psyche is moving, which life lessons are perceived naturally, and where the path requires conscious effort and transformation. It is from this perspective that we propose to look at each blood type, not only as a biological characteristic, but as a psychological symbol that opens up new facets of self-knowledge. The second blood type is the archetype of the architect of order. People with blood type A tend to have an innate drive for structure, clarity, and control. In the symbolic language of Jungian psychology, they embody the archetype of the sage or architect of order, those who seek meaning through form, stability through discipline, and harmony through internal organization. Their inner world is structured like a carefully constructed system. It is filled with logic, subtle interconnections, and principles to which they remain faithful. These are people who think strategically, preferring deep analysis to instant reactions. They are comfortable in the realm of ideas and structures, able to bring order to chaos and see the whole picture where others see only fragments. They often become the quiet but reliable center of a family, team, creative or business project. Their strength is not manifested in loud gestures, but in calm consistency, in the ability to maintain balance and set the direction. However, every bright archetype casts a shadow. For people with blood type A, the danger lies in excessive control. Perfectionism taken to the extreme can become an internal prison, the desire for order can turn into a fear of chaos, and discipline can turn into emotional numbness. Jung teaches that the path to wholeness requires the integration of opposites. For these people, this means the ability to consciously let go of control, trust the flow of life, and accept its unpredictability not as a threat, but as part of a greater order that is beyond human comprehension. The third blood type is the explorer archetype. If people with blood type A find support in order and predictability, then people with blood type B flourish in a space of freedom and spontaneity. Their inner compass is tuned not to structure, but to movement. In the symbolic language of archetypes, they embody the seeker, someone who looks for meaning not in stability but in experience, not in the known but in the unknown. They are often perceived as creative, freedom-loving, and slightly unpredictable. These are souls who strive for self-expression and intuitive living. They bring fresh energy and enliven their environment like a breath of wind that can dispel stagnation. However, their flexibility is not chaos. It is a deeply attuned intuition, a sensitive following of an inner rhythm that often eludes logical analysis. It is precisely this connection with the unconscious that Carl Jung considered to be the true expression of a living soul. Through sincere creativity, emotional honesty, and a willingness to venture into the unknown. But freedom also has its shadow side. For Group B carriers, inconsistency, difficulties with attachment, and avoidance of structure become challenges. Their challenge is not to lose depth in endless movement, not to scatter their strength in many directions. The path to wholeness for these people lies in the ability to linger with their body, attention, and soul. Where there is stability, true depth can blossom. And only by learning to be in the moment not only fleetingly but also consciously do they find a point of inner support. The fourth blood type is the archetype of the alchemist. Now we are approaching the rarest and perhaps most paradoxical blood types, A and B. These people seem to carry two poles within themselves, discipline and intuition, rationality and emotionality. They combine the opposites of groups A and B, not simply alternating between them, but creating a new whole out of them. From the point of view of Jungian symbolism, this is the archetype of the alchemist or mediator, a being living in constant tension between dualities. Jung would undoubtedly see in them the potential for great inner reconciliation. They do not reject contradictions, they try to accommodate, transform, and transform them. Their greatest gift is perspective. They are able to grasp several levels of meaning at once, to see what eludes others. It is precisely such people who become natural mediators between worlds, logic and intuition, the rational and the sensual, the structured and the chaotic. They bring depth and nuance to conversations that seem black and white to others. However, their path is not without trials. Such internal complexity can lead to vacillation, blurred boundaries of identity, and exhaustion from emotional and mental overload. Their shadow is the danger of getting lost in their own multitude of voices, of losing their inner integrity while trying to please every side within themselves. Jung would say that the task of blood types A and B is to find their inner center of gravity, to be rooted in their true selves, which is capable of withstanding the tension of opposites without falling apart, but rather coming together in a higher order. So, the first blood type is the archetype of the hero. Blood type O is the source, the foundation. From an evolutionary point of view, it is considered the most ancient, and perhaps that is why it feels like something primal, pure power, instinct, survival energy. It carries the archetypal memory of a time when action meant more than reflection, and movement was a matter of life and death. In Carl Jung's symbolism, people with this blood type embody the archetype of the hero or warrior, a figure standing on the border between chaos and order, protecting, awakening strength, leading forward. These are individuals with an innate sense of purpose and clarity of intention. Their actions are straightforward, their energy palpable, their presence mesmerizing. In Jungian terminology, such decisiveness and focus indicate a strong sensoriological axis, a psyche that interacts directly with reality and seeks to shape it through will and action. This is the energy of realization, embodiment, and overcoming. But even the hero archetype has a shadow side. Where there is great power, there is a risk of harshness. Where there is confidence, aggression may arise. Where there is a desire for victory, there is a temptation to ignore the pain of others. A hero can become a dictator if they do not open themselves up to the softer, more sensitive sides of their soul. The path to individuation for those with blood type O is to combine strength with suffering, drive with self-analysis, victory with vulnerability. A true hero is not only someone who overcomes external challenges, but also someone who is able to look their shadow in the eye, not rejecting it, but transforming it into a source of wisdom. And so we return to the original question: what does your blood really tell you? Your blood type is not just a medical fact, not a faceless code in a test. It is a symbol, a living thread woven into the fabric of your individuality, into the hidden levels of who you are. It does not dictate who you should be, but it can suggest the direction in which to search for yourself. Carl Jung taught that the unconscious speaks to us through images and symbols, and that the goal of human life is not to achieve an ideal, but to integrate, to bring ourselves together, to accept all our facets and become whole. Your blood may whisper your inclinations to you, pointing to inner currents. But it is your awareness, your willingness to look inside and listen to yourself, that will determine the true direction of your path. If this reflection has sparked new thoughts in you, share them in the comments, what your blood type is, and whether the archetypes described resonate with you. If you found this video helpful, subscribe to the Flow of Thoughts channel. The next video may be the next step for you. Thank you for watching, see you again soon.